So, Mira, we're going to get into the article that you wrote. You recently wrote an article called Navigating Change, 3 Tools to Help Keep Your Cool. I have 3 kids, one's a teenager, and everyone knows the challenges that can bring. So my wife and I, we loved hearing about what you had to say about keeping your cool. Mary, tell us a little bit, what inspired you to write this article?
Outside my own life, yeah.
Right.
So many people. Oh, yeah. I think this last 2 years for all of us has just brought so many things of points of unexpected change for so many of us. It's just like the never ending roller coaster of life,
Mm.
right? So I think I had many of my counseling clients in mind when I was writing this, simply to put some language around sometimes our hearts, our minds, and our physical bodies need some speed bumps, some healthy speed bumps. You know, the one
Mhm.
right before the fancy stop sign in the good neighborhood where there's like those little ridges right before you get to the
Mm.
stop sign. Not my neighborhood. I'm out way out in the country. It's like if you miss it, good luck. But if we could, we would really rather have those little kind of checks in our heart and our brain and our body to help us kind of slow down and get oriented to say everything feels like it's changing so fast and I just can't catch a breath or a minute. So I really wanted to take some small bite-sized things that we all could use during our day. I use this myself to say,
Mhm.
what's going on? Where am I? Let me slow my heart down and make some space so I can kind of process where I'm at. So that was kind of the big picture of wanting to make it accessible for this topic.
Yeah, that's good. As a pastor, I've sat with many people through hurt, trauma, and some of the time, and really most of the time, the root of the trauma or the hurt was uninvited change
Mhm.
and unmet expectations.
Yeah,
Why do people commonly feel so overwhelmed when they're faced with uninvited change or unmet expectations?
yeah. Oh, my heart kind of sinks even when we go to this place. It's that place
Hmm.
where we don't know what is coming. And our whole sense, really, the way God wired us, is that attachment, that secure attachment to things that we can navigate when we know what our ground is, whether that's in relationships, in our routines at home, our job, our personal heart process with the Lord. And when that disruption happens, we feel shaky. And it's hard to gather what's our true north when that's going on. So many people have faced, different kinds of loss, from health to family members to job changes, even in the last year. And that place for all of us just becomes that unsteady, like we're just off balance and we can't
Yeah.
seem to find a place to get grounded. So really what we're trying to give is that sense of balance back to where we can navigate, we can choose a step forward if we could just find a little bit of balance somewhere.
Yeah.
So help me if that doesn't quite meet where you're looking, tell me some more and we can go a little deeper, but I don't want to go too far off your path because you're leading us well in this place.
No, that was good. I want to get into the article just a little deeper. You gave us 3 sentences that we can use to help keep really our calm when we're feeling that overwhelming, sense of I'm not in control or whatever it is. Can you explain what they are and really how they can be a helpful tool for us?
Mhm. Sure. Yeah. So that first speed bump we wanted to notice was literally getting a pen or a pencil in your hand. I've got a whole jar full of them. I keep them close. Do the physical act of getting some real old fashioned analog paper
Hmm.
and pen. There's a chemical connection that happens in our brain that we don't get when we go on a screen. I love digital tools, but they're not the same. So, the first speed bump we want to use to our advantage of reconnecting with our reality and what's going on, get a pen and paper. And we want to answer the sentence to say, like, what is the feeling that's actually going on inside of me? Is there
Hmm.
fear? Is there anger? Is that sense of I'm disconnected? I don't know what's going on. and finish the sentence. That feeling is highlighting a need inside of us. It's how God wired our bodies. He knew we needed it portable. So we didn't just sit and go through a filing system, that we felt it. When we put a name to it, it's like pulling the curtain back for your kids if they have something in the closet they're nervous about. No, 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 it's the old pair of boots in there. It's really not what you think it is. So we kind
Hmm.
of slow our mind down in that speed bump. Right.
Yeah, well, if I can, before you get to the next sentence, I was already
Absolutely.
convicted because I was going to do everything on my phone, but now I know I'm going to use an actual piece of paper and a pen. So that's good to know. It's that speed bump you talk about is what you're feeling as a guy, and not just really to single out guys. It's sometimes hard to kind of communicate right down what we're feeling. Sometimes that's probably a result of just maybe fear of rejection or disapproval. What advice do you have to those who struggle to find out how they're really feeling inside?
Yeah, absolutely. It takes so much courage to notice that's really there. Because
Hmm.
in our culture, especially in the West, we really highlight, busyness and productivity and moving through, pulling ourselves up by our bootstraps. But actually, God's design for us is to alert us to what's going on. God's an emotional God.
Hmm.
We can't divorce that from his character. Jesus was angry, sad, and obedient when he went to raise Lazarus from the dead.
Hmm.
Right? He was all of those, and it pointed him towards the Father. So when we start to notice that God given wiring that's happening inside of us, it's not broken. If we
Yeah.
could say anything to our listeners to encourage their hearts, it's not broken when you notice an emotion. It's working really well. It's just
Yeah.
pointing you to a need.
Yeah. I like that what you said. God has emotions. Sometimes we just view God as just this, old guy with a beard, the staff, and dare you have an emotion towards him
Yeah.
as if he's not big enough to handle that.
Yeah.
That's I always tell people, my God is big enough to handle your fears, your doubts, your questions, and your
Mhm.
feelings. So that's really good. So keep going. This is good stuff.
Sure. So if we just look at speed bump number two, very gentle speed bumps. They're not meant to be, like chasing parked cars kind of speed bumps, just small ones. The next one we look at is writing the thought itself. Like, if this is my actual fear, then we want to actually just finish that sentence out. So, well, then what does that mean? If
Hmm.
I lost my job, or I don't get to connect with this person the way I thought, if they maybe do perceive me this way, well, what does that mean? Just finish it out. It's almost like we're pulling that flashlight kind of close and shining the light of truth on it. Say, well, what does that mean to me? Maybe I feel lonely. Maybe I do feel that closeness of rejection again. And it shines a light on a place where we do need to notice, well, then I'm going to feel sad. Then what? What do I need? I know I need connection with someone, but we can't actually reach for what we need until we finish the thought itself. Otherwise, it's just kind of running around in the middle of nowhere and just leaves us hanging.
Yeah.
Right. So, okay.
Yeah.
So, yeah, go ahead,
No, I
please.
was going to say keep going because this next one is really useful. So tell us about this third tool that you write about.
Yeah, so I have no credit in this one. This is from some of our work from our therapists we have, and I give full credit to our therapist Matt at the time. Credit to your name. Uh, it's simply aligning with your limitations, and it gets me every time. When I sit and I notice, well, what does this mean? I actually can't do these five things. Maybe I'm worried about what's going to happen, what comes next. If I sit down and I start to list out, well, what are the things I absolutely can't do? You have three kids. There's some things that you're probably not willing to give up on. You're like, I have to see their faces in the daylight at some point. I can't do all night work, or maybe
Right.
I'm going to pick and choose my hours, or small things like that. There's going to be some things in our lives that we say, you know what? I can't move off of that. I have to have sleep. I don't have money for a babysitter for this kind of job. So it shortens our list of possibilities in a good way. when I start to notice and take responsibility for these are the things that I value, these are the things that I'm going to choose to prioritize. It also invites us to consider with some kindness for ourselves that, you know what, these are the things I'm not going to bend on. And again, it opens the door for us to say, God, help me see some of these things. Help me sort through what are my absolutes. So,
Hmm.
does that make sense?
It takes a burden off of us,
Hmm.
which hello, we could probably all do, it just helps release that burden of, what we're really not in control of.
Mhm.
You gave a bonus tool that we could all really use. In fact, it's a biblical tool. Do you want to elaborate on that one?
Sure, sure. And we call it a bonus simply because most of us stop at those first three bumps and we go, okay, it's all on me. I've figured my limitations. I know what I've thought. I have to take my thoughts captive. But God also wired us for connection. It's actually the way that we reflect his love and his creation the most. When we turn to safe people in our lives that we can just be with and share our hearts with, when we turn to one another, when we identify, you know what, this is a person that when I'm down, I can just be myself with them and I need to let them know where I am on the map. They can't
Mhm.
fix it. They probably can't do a whole lot about the situation, but when I let them come close and I just let them know this is real for me, this is what's hitting my heart right now, I'm activating a place of vulnerability, first in my own heart with the Lord, of humbleness, and still ownership to say, I need you. I need real people that God's put in my life.
Mhm.
And it's really engaging in God's character and nature for us to connect with people and receive care. Yeah, it's a healthy place.
Yeah, God wired us for connection. And, I pound this. This is God never meant for us to live on the island of loneliness.
Oh,
And I just love that, and I tell people if something's out of control in your life, you don't just have people, and I think you hit it on the head. It's the right people, the healthy people,
mhm,
but you also have a God who's in control, who
mhm.
loves you, promises to take care of his children. So there's another big factor that's in our corner. Um, Mary, any other thoughts about the article that you want to share? Maybe some encouragement to some people who feel like they're about to lose their cool, you know? And you're right. The past 2 years have been so challenging. What what's something you can just kind of leave us with?
Yeah. So first, to just be encouraged that you're so not alone. And
Mhm.
I'm so glad that you chose to turn to look for some resources. That means you're taking your own heart care seriously, that you're not trying to just stay on that island we talked about, but that this is going to be part of life for all of us. Change is going to happen whether we like it or not, expected or unexpected. And when you're leaning into that process for your own self, for your heart, your voice, those that are in your corner, that's healthy growth. And when you meet the next unexpected change, you're going to be able to look back on this season and notice, I grew. It may have felt like millimeters at a time,
Mm.
but you're doing it. And you can go back to that place as many times as you need and draw on those tools and that foundation you're growing right now with the Lord and with others. And it's going to sow into the rest of your life for good.
Well, Mary, this has been extremely valuable, and I definitely will have my sticky notes and physical pen and pencil ready to finish these sentences. And I want to encourage you, those who are watching, if you haven't had a chance to read the article, I believe it'll be in the show notes. And I would encourage you to read this helpful article.